Yo, 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 it's Tuesday night. It's your boys, Flyers Talk A2D, Pove, Maddie, Dales, all with you tonight. Another fun conversation as the offseason continues to chug along. Line combos. We're now in the part of the rebuild where a lot of different things can happen as far as a line combo. So we're gonna talk about the line combos, who's gonna fit where, who's gonna cement into any spot. Or is Taki going to be the type who's going to keep things moving like Torts did, like John Stevens did, et cetera, et cetera. We're also going to talk NHL expansion. I know we've been talking about kind of briefly touching on NHL expansion, but we're going to get a little more in depth on this one tonight, boys. So hit that like, hit that subscribe. Make sure you hit that share. We're going to need audience participation for sure tonight. It's time to go talk some puck. Let's start the conversation.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a brand new edition of Flyers Talk A2D here on A2DRadio.com. I am Matt Cinsuti along with the Darkwing Brian Daly.
What up?
And the Broken One, Rob Povia.
What's up? Seeing Maddie twice in 24 hours. Glorious.
Yes, throwback to the old days. So, we welcome everybody once again here to Flyers Talk A2D, brought to you by Specialized Physical Therapy. If you got any aches and pains, hit up the doc, Dr. Paul Vidal, over at SpecializedPhysicalTherapy.com. Make an appointment and go see his team in Burlington or Cherry Hill, New Jersey. At any time you guys have those aches and pains, it could be very frustrating to deal with in your day-to-day life. And you know what? It just drags you down, drags your mood down, drags your motivation down. Like, why do you want to do something if all it does is cause you pain? Well, if you go see the doc and you let them take care of you, before you know it, you won't be feeling those aches and pains anymore. And then you'll feel as good as new. And maybe, just maybe even up here, you'll feel even better because now you can get back to doing what you love to do. So the doc, Dr. Paul Vidal, SpecializedPhysicalTherapy.com. The poll question for today: Trevor Zegras will center the first line for the Flyers in the 25-26 season. Agree or disagree? Obviously, Trevor Zegras joining his former Duck brethren, Jamie Drysdale, to become a Flyer brethren now via trade. So, gentlemen, do you believe that Zegras will slot his way into the first center position? Obviously, there's always that talk of, would Coots go into that role or would somebody else be in that spot? What do you feel, guys? Do you think it'll be Zegras or do you think it might be somebody else?
I'll be honest. I think this is a slam dunk. I think it's a definite agree, and I think it's an easy agree. I mean, right now, I don't think there's really anybody on this roster that can really put up the potential numbers that somebody needs to be a 1C. Maybe Coots, but Coots is such a massive question mark anymore offensively because dealing with injury issues in the past, and he hasn't really rebounded offensively. Like I at least was hoping that he was going to. I'm not going to speak for you guys. I'll let you guys speak on that yourselves. But, you know, he's still a very strong defensive center. Still knows how to put himself in good position, makes good plays on the back end of the puck. But he just never really started to put those numbers back up. And I don't think Jet is going to be a 1C in his career. I think Jet's going to be a very strong 2C. And I think that's going to be fantastic for him. Considering, where he was projected to be drafted, where he wound up getting drafted, I think a 2C for him is going to be a fantastic career for him. Zegras is at the point in his career now where he needs to start. He was projected to be a 1C. He's a first liner. He was taken high in the draft. I believe he was 9th overall. such a massive hype behind him. Very good first 2 seasons for him with the Anaheim Ducks, and very good World Junior Championship performances. Time to start showing at the NHL level that you can be that guy that you were expected to be in the draft. So in order for him to get there, I think he has to be the 1C. I think he has to. I think this is, like I said, I think this is a slam dunk. Agree to the poll. So, Robbie?
Interesting. Unlike last week, Brian, we're in unison tonight, and I too agreed to the poll. And I thought I was going to be maybe on an island because Zegras does have a lot to prove, and to just crown the dude as C1 might be hasty. But for me, the choice will be between Zegras and Couturier. But imagine how electric of a top line TK, Zegras, and Michkov could be, because that's just a clue y'all in. That's a little precursor to, as we get into the depth charts, that's going to be my number one line after training camp. I mean, Coots is more determined than ever to show he can still play at a top level this season and be that 1C. In fact, he recently said, if anyone thinks I'm just here to mentor and fade out, they're dead wrong. I'm here to win, lead, and prove I can still shut down the best in the league, which makes the hair on the back of your neck stand up. But Father Time is undefeated, and he is entering his age 33 season, to your point, Brian. I just feel he would be best placed on the third line with maybe Owen Tippett and potentially Bump, and serve as a mentor and a leader to both, but also returning potentially to the status of shutdown center. Let's let Zegras grow in center ice position. He was that top line center. That's how he was drafted. And create plays for TK and Mitch.
Yeah, I agree. He has to prove it this year. And to Priz's comment, one of the things that Zegras was working on last year, and I thought he did a very good job of it, was playing a little bit better defensively and forming out his game a little bit more. So we'll see how things go.
For Zegras, I would say, depending upon Tocchet's style, Tocchet is, I would still see, knowing how it usually goes, I still see Coots kind of being that first center. I know that things did not go according to plan, and the reason why I say that is to just, Robbie's got this smile on his face. What's up, Robbie? What's up? Can't hear him.
Not much, dude. Go continue. There's just some shenanigans going on in the background over here in Cobia Studios over here.
I got you. Okay.
Per usual. Go on.
I was gonna say, I still think that they would give Coots the spot, only because, and that's not an offense to Zegras, and that's not an offense to what he was able to do out in Anaheim. But I think, honestly, knowing the way that this usually goes, I would have to think that because Coots carries the C, he most likely gets that first spot. I know that may sound very un-Tocchet-like, but I don't know. I feel like Coots, if he really is going to follow what he says, he may very well be that shutdown player at the top line, and he may also be the guy that can help set up for a Michkov and possibly set up for whomever he's on a line with. So, I'm just going to say it. I think it might be Coots. I think they play it. I think to them, they'll play it safe, and they put Coots in that spot. So I'm going to disagree. Doesn't mean that Zegras can't be that. It means Zegras may very well become that anyway, as this season goes along. But I think at the start of the season, I think it'll be Coots.
Maddie, it's not unfounded. I thought I was going to be on an island with this. I'm surprised Brian agreed with me. I thought that, you're going to with the new Tocchet regime, you're going to have your your captain at center ice leading that top line. But I still think he can do exactly those same things, but in a second, third line situation. Like I described it as the third line, but especially if Tyson Foerster's behind the curve a little bit, the Foerster-Cates Brink line, which I assume they'll want to try to keep that chemistry going into this new season, their minutes could be bumped down to bottom 6 level until they start rolling like they did last year. And I noticed I said until, not if.
Yeah.
I definitely feel though that again, as the season goes along, we may very well see something different. I mean, Priz is looking at this as putting Dvorak at the top center spot. He's going to put Cates at 2 and Coots at 3. Priz also looked like he threw Michkov first, which is a no-brainer. Forster on second, and then Zegras on 3, which is interesting. Interesting. Priz then goes on to say right wing TK, Tippett, Brink. And then he also says fourth, like who the fuck knows. So
I mean, the fourth line is going to be.
It's going to be interchangeable. This season.
Delorier, Hathaway, Kaplan,
Abel.
Dorwat, probably like a rotation of those guys.
Yeah,
I don't see. Sorry, Priz. Dvorak is not even coming close to that first line center. There's no way. He's not offensively responsible enough. He's another guy who can't put up the points. You need a guy who's going to be able to put up points on the first line too. Like I get defensively responsible, but
I feel like Dvorak was more brought in for third line duty.
Third and fourth line, absolutely.
Yeah, I feel like that was more of a depth signing than anything else.
Yeah.
I mean, not to say that he didn't have really good runs, but we're getting him sort of possibly at the end of his career. I'm not saying it is, but it might be. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like his gumption though, in terms of things come together like that, where you have players that really weren't penciled in, but can fill that responsibility. But to Brian's point, I don't think he can fill that full responsibility. Unless Talk wants to focus on defense, making this team a phenomenally defensive 5-on-5 team, like he knows how. That would be a scenario where I could say it.
Mm-hmm. And I don't disagree with anything else. It's that one thing. Dvorak he's not that guy. He never has been. And again, defensively responsible. I think he's going to play a bigger role for this team than people think he's going to. And I think unfortunately, he's going to get traded at the deadline if he plays well enough. But I mean, if I'm putting a 1C out there, if he's not defensively responsible, I would very much rather have a guy who has the potential to put up 70, 80 points a year, which is, to me, is Zegras. There's other options. I mean, we've seen all kinds of guys kind of penciled in. So I'm personally am not sure, but Tocchet might even do what Tortorella has done in the past, or some of these other Flyers coaches, and he could rotate guys. Just because let's say Zegras starts the game as a 1C doesn't mean he's going to finish the game as a 1C. So, there's still a lot of questions here, but like I said at the beginning, this is just a fun conversation. So.
Yeah, the coach will jumble, and depending on what it works. And I could see Zegras bouncing from center and wing. But a lot of this is predicated on Prism's belief that Zegras isn't a center iceman. He's a winger more. You know what I mean? I if I infer into his comment correctly. And with that, I think if you're not planning on having Zegras playing center ice, then I know, Brian, you said earlier that Jet is more of like a second line center, but that would open up the potentiality if you don't have Coots there, that you would have Jet there, or maybe you have Jet naturally in the 2 and then you have Coots in 1. And in that way, even if you're getting the same level of play with the depreciation, I think that's still better than the depreciation at Dvorak. He does win faceoffs, Priz. You are correct there. Couturier, as he got that back stronger, started showing why he was a big face-off win guy himself. So if anything else improves with Coots and it's only winning face-offs, I could be satisfied and being defensively responsible in terms of being able to shut down the opponent's best player, the opponent's 1C. It's a tough task for, he's going to be 33 in December. So, but in hockey, that's not as old as maybe, say, in the NFL.
No, for sure. And to Priz's point here, yeah, he absolutely wins a lot of faceoffs. And he's, like I said, he's going to have a good role with this organization. But I don't know if he's, first of all, fast enough to keep up with I think you had TK and Michkov on the first line with Dvorak. So I don't necessarily know if he's going to be able to keep. I know Coots won't be able to, but at least with Coots will be able to put himself in a good position to at least make a play to one of the other guys. Not saying that Dvorak can't, but we've seen in the past that Coots can put up good offensive numbers. We've seen in the past that Zegras can put up good offensive numbers. What I would like to see more, and I agree with you, Praise. I want to see Zegras be more defensively responsible because you do want that. You want your 1C to be able to shut down the opposing team's first line center as well. So that's going to be my biggest thing is he going to be able to do that? Can he do that? He's matured a lot since his first couple of seasons with Anaheim, and playing under a guy like Tocchet, playing with guys like Couturier and Dvorak, who I think are kind of up to par with some of the vets that they have in Anaheim. I think that he can definitely find a way with those two guys on this roster to become a better defensively responsible center, which in turn I think will, again, continue to have him evolve into a complete first-line center.
Sure. And piggyback off of your point and Priz's point, you could always have Dvorak, a strong face-off man, be your top penalty killer, winning those tough face-offs in the defensive zone for a clear Matty, right?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, there's a lot of benefits to having him in the spot that you could have him in. And that's not to say that, if his play is going really well, that you can't jumble up the line combinations and put him in that spot and see if he can get something. Like, you could do that even if there's issues going on at that line where it's like, okay, something's missing, something's off. Let's throw him up there and let's see what we get.
Different positions, but we saw the Flyers do that with Michael Raffle, where he was a bottom line, and when they needed that strong power forward presence on as a winger on the top line, they can move that up. When they need, that key face-off, maybe Dvorak does sub in with guys that he can just win that face-off, get it back to the defenseman, and then they can spring TK or Mitch off on the wing.
Right. So, I mean, the thing is, like, while we have the line combinations, they're not set in stone. So, you could always have that interchangeable situation where it's like, okay, Dvorak's killing it right now in the face-off circle. We'll just have him up on the first line for a little while and just try to get better possession time for Michkov and for TK. And, if you have to do it that way, then so be it. Again, in that situation, and it's the same thing if Zegras' play is really good. I still feel at the beginning of the season, Coots is going to get the first shot. And I think it'll be his spot to keep or lose at the end of the day. And if Coots' play slips and it slips too much, all right, then we see the gradual, okay, let's throw Zegras in there. Okay, let's throw Dvorak in there. Let's see what we get out of both of them. And what's the worst? You have to switch it up again. I mean, we had to do it last year and it had to be done the year before. So it's not unheard of. It's not uncharted territory for the Flyers to have to jumble around. So again, I think while Coots might get the first shot, if his play slips, you may very well see Dvorak get an opportunity to step in there. And obviously there's these special teams opportunities on the power play, penalty kill. There'll be opportunities for him to shine there, especially if his defensive play is strong. He'll definitely play a part in the penalty kill, which was god-awful last year. And the same thing with the power play, which was also god-awful again. So he might be a huge part of helping that at least get a little bit more stabilized.
Yeah, and to kind of piggyback off of what you were saying, Rob, with the whole Michael Raffle thing, they did the same thing with Noah Cates.
Yeah.
Just recently as of last year. So, there's a lot of moving parts to where this team is right now, and nothing, like we're saying, nothing is set in stone. So we don't really know. There's a lot of question marks surrounding a lot of the younger players as well. Is Tyson Forrester going to take the next step? Is he going to be healthy for the season opener? A lot of questions here, but I mean, generally speaking, right now, I'm between two guys for the first line center, and just me personally, it's Coots and Zegras, and you just build around that. But yeah, to both your points, Dvorak is going to be your PK specialist because I mean that's essentially what he is at this point. Because you need the guy that wins the face-offs, you need the guy who can put himself in good position, clear pucks. I can't wait for the season to get started. Hashtag is it October yet?
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah. So Priz is saying, I'm also basing this off of that Coots has fallen off and that Dvorak being a steady proven hand at the position the Flyers are shallow in. He also goes on to say, between Dvorak, Coots, Cates, Zegras, Jet, who do you have the most faith in playing center this year, 82 games? Well, with that, for the full 82, that's where we start to kind of scratch our heads a little bit because – for one, anything had happened, and also, I hate to say this, but it's become so routine. I don't know if Coots will play the full 82. As for Cates, that's really up to Cates if he can play the full 82. In his play, Zegras should be able to play an 82. I don't think that would be too. I mean, I know he has some injury history, but nothing. I don't, correct me if I'm wrong, Brian, but I don't think his injury history is as bad as Drysdale's.
No, I think it's about on par with each other.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Yeah.
Still, though, but I would have to say Zegras would most likely have an 82 in him. Jet, I'm not so sure about because of the fact that he's still pretty young, and that might be a lot to ask for. Might be. Maybe not. He did look good when he was with the Flyers for that brief stint, but I think that'd be a lot to ask for. Dvorak should be 82 fine. I mean, he's been in the league for a while. He should be good for it.
Sure. There's some conjecture. I know Jesse Bell from Flyers Alley chimed in on one of her posts saying that Jet is pegged for the Phantoms for the full season this year, that he won't be on this NHL team. And I can understand that opinion. He is young, right? You want to nurse him along. But I think that's why you having Dvorak in tow, you can kind of do a little bit of both, right? Last week I talked about Dvorak being a 13th center, and, a troll attacked me for my oversized head, trying to keep these headphones on this oversized head. But coming up with the cockamamie story of paying a player $5 million to be a 13th. I think he might have misunderstood me based on the quote that we put in, just being a snapshot of the conversation. That's why I encourage everybody to watch listen to the clips, then come watch the full show for the full opinion, right? I think Dvorak's going to play more than he's not going to play, right? But it allows you to get Jet some playing time when you're resting an aging player like Dvorak, and what I would label a 13th forward just in terms of the talent level, but not in the playing time. I thought I made that clear in our conversation last week, but I just wanted to do that here. So with both issues, do you guys think that Jet is just going to be with the Phantoms and have 0 NHL games this season?
No, I think he'll show up. I think he'll have moments. I think he'll have a cup of coffee or two and, here and there. If the Flyers are doing really poorly, I could see him staying longer. If they're doing really good, I could see him only sticking around for maybe a handful of games. But it really depends on how the season's going. I think that's the most likely determination of what we're going to get from Jet, at least in an orange and black jersey for the Flyers.
I'm more on terms. I'm with Benny. I think he's going to be, if he does make the NHL roster, I think he's going to be on limited. Um, I think he's going to be on limited game basis because they've been doing that a lot with some of the younger guys who are coming into their first year, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It keeps them healthy, and it keeps them from basically just kind of overworking themselves. You know, these younger kids, they're playing a lot of hockey, and sometimes getting a break is good for them. I mean, I think 60 games is going to be a great mark for him to hit and stay healthy and be productive and continue to grow. I don't necessarily know if he's going to wind up in the AHL. I don't know. Like, I know they're changing the rule from you have to be 20 to play in the AHL to 19 now. And I'm not 100% sure when that rule is going to. I thought it was supposed to be next year. Maybe it's this year. I'm not 100%. But I mean, I see him if he's up with the big team. I think they're going to do exactly what they did with like Adam Fantilli and Leo Carlsson and what they tried to do with Mitch Kov a little bit last year. Play him a few games and give him a day or two rest. Play him a handful of games, give him a day or two rest, so on and so forth throughout the season. I think 60 is a good mark for him.
That would definitely be for your first full year in the league. That's a good chunk of games right there for experience wise. So yeah, bro.
I'll say this: unless he really like blows up and has a phenomenal year, like we're talking like almost Calder Trophy caliber type of season.
Calder season, okay.
Then he'll play all 82, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't think it's likely, but we'll see what happens.
The official word is this year, right? You would have to be 20 by December to play in the AHL, which I'm not sure if Jet's going to be 20 by December, right? But starting in 2026, 27, so not this season, next season, it'll be 19 years old. And this is only for players coming from the Canadian Hockey League, whether that be the OHL in Jets' case or whatever.
Gotcha.
Let's see. Jetlachenko turns 19 in 2 days. 3 days. 2 days. August 21st. Yeah. He'll be 19.
So what's Jesse talking about that Jet's going to play with the Phantoms all year? He can't, right?
Well, you just read off the rule, and by that rule, yeah, he won't be able to play. He won't be eligible for the Phantoms.
Well, that says everything right there, doesn't it? So that 60 games might turn out to be a little bit more factual right now.
Yeah,
right.
And that's reasonable.
Benny's always on point.
But as for, I think that'll be an interesting dynamic shift too for drafting wise, because that might make people a little bit more favorable to drafting out of the CHL leagues than necessarily the European leagues, only because of that change in the rule. Might possibly be the reason for a little bit more of that, but maybe I'm reading a little bit too much into that, possibly.
Yeah, they don't exactly break down the rules easily either, so some of it's kind of very unclear,
right?
So,
and sometimes when they write it in that lawyer speak, so you actually have to read it 5 or 6 times for you to actually get the idea of what the hell they're talking about.
Or like, for me, I have to get a translator.
So, all right. So line combos wise, obviously the Flyers are going to have nothing I would say set in stone. Most NHL teams don't, but this year I would have to say, though, I think you're still going to see a pretty decent amount of fluidity, even at the top lines, because obviously certain teams, their top 2 lines are set and they don't change them up normally. But I would say even on the top lines, you're probably going to see guys come and go, and you're going to see players on the third line doing more than a few shifts. I mean, there might be times where, depending upon, just to give less workload, they might put Michkov down just for the fact of like, well, we don't want to put him at top right now because he's going through a bit of a dry spell. And they might just put him on third and see if they can get a better matchup for him. See if they can get something going for him. Like you could very easily see something like that happening. And I'm pretty sure Tocchet's ballsy enough to do something like that. So at the end of the day, I would say that most of the line combos are pretty fluid at this particular point. I can't imagine anything being like no player is set in their spot. That, we might see TK on the top line for 2-3 weeks, and he might go to second line if he hits a dry spell for a sec the very following week. So with that being said, though, guys, is there a certain point, like, is there a buck stops here kind of moment for you, like where you say like certain players can't go to a certain spot? Like you were like, no, in normal circumstances I would, but because it's you, I'm not going to put you in that spot because you can do better, and I don't want to put you there. I want you to stay where you're at and thrive. How do you feel about that? Do you feel like at some point Taka will just be like, no, I'm not moving you down. You're staying right where you're at because I know you can actually be there and handle it.
I get what you're saying, Matty. I mean, I that's what I look forward to with Taka, is that, being a former player, he's going to give these guys time to play together, to form chemistry. Torts juggled the damn lines way too much last season. And besides the Cates, Forrester, Brink line, what line stayed together for more than 10 games? I can't think of one, right? So I think you could expect, like, I expect players like TK to be on that top line and stay on that top line. I don't see him, even if he's an evil, he's a streaky player at times, but Taka will let him play through that, in my opinion. What I wouldn't expect to see, because equally smart as a player's coach, right, is seeing one of these young players, Alex Bump, Denver Barkey, if he were to make this club, playing top 6 minutes. That's unfair. That's going to be too much ice time. They're going to get burned. It's going to shake their confidence, and you're going to depreciate an asset, right? To Tort's credit, a lot of people criticized his ice time for Mitch Coffin. While maybe at times it was too limited based on extracurricular feelings, the thought process behind it was accurate, that you don't serve up a young player to the Wolves. You just don't do it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Priz saying off topic, he just bought 3 Mikko Rantanen Ultimate Collection rookie autos and a rookie RPA booklet. And he said the motherfuckers better cash in or at least beat the Avs again in the playoffs.
If those don't pay off, then you got ripped off. They're not real.
So if you're saying Buffalo wants Tippett to replace Peterka, true or just rumors?
I think it's true. I think there has been like Briere indicated that there have been calls about Owen Tippett in interview or presser that I've listened to him over the summer. And Buffalo, I mean, they've talked, they've worked trade dealings in the past, and there's connection there with Buffalo for Danny B. So I could see it. I don't expect to see it though. I don't really, based on Danny and Keith's MO, you have to really wow them for them to part with a player that they believe in. And I really feel that they believe in Owen Tippett, and they want to see him get a full year with Rick Tocchet behind the bench.
I will say this too. If they trade Tippett, I know there'll be people who will go around saying, there'll probably be some people, because this is a city where that kind of stuff happens, where they'll be the ones to say, oh, well, it's good to know we traded Giroux away for Tippett, and now we traded Tippett away to Buffalo. We still won the trade. Just so that anyone's wondering, we still won that trade, because did G win a cup with the Panthers that year? No. So we still won that trade no matter what. It was like one of the few that Fletcher actually got right.
I would have easily lost that trade for G winning a cup, though.
Yeah, that would have been nice.
You're factual, but in terms of personal bias,
Right. Priz saying, any chance y'all are in the playoff race and sell again with Tocchet as coach? I mean, the playoffs are, I don't know. I mean, I'm still kind of unsure if the Flyers are going to make it in terms of that. I'm not saying that they can't have a good run and they can't make something happen and they can't make some noise, because I know they can. We saw them do it 2 years ago. But I would say that, I don't know. I feel like they still would miss. Like, yeah, they've got a little bit more star power on the team, but it's still very young. I don't know. Now, as for the race itself, yeah, I think they could get in the race. Could they make it? I don't know about that. Like, to me, the making it's going to be a challenge, but getting into the race, they have a good couple of months in them. Yeah, they could absolutely be in the thick of that race.
Interesting. They have Christian Dvorak listed as a left winger.
That's interesting.
That would change a lot.
Pulse.
That would change a lot, actually.
Priz saying Tippett needs to stay put in second line. And he also criticized you, saying he didn't hear that from you earlier about those rookie Ultimate Collection.
Oh, I was just saying, if they didn't pay off, you got ripped off then.
All right, so with that, gentlemen, where do you sit in terms of like opening day? What's your top line for the Flyers?
I'm still
Think about
workshopping.
my lines off.
All right.
Why don't you go first, Brian?
All right, I got four depth charts here. The only thing, the only thing that I'm really positive that's going to wind up happening for the Flyers is going to be their defense, and I'm going to start there. The only thing that I'm pretty much positive that's going to wind up happening, because it's been this way in the past, and I don't see why it's not going to be this way this year, is starting off on your first D pairing. You have Travis Sanheim and Cam York. Cam York is playing on a brand new contract. Sanheim had a pretty solid year last year. York, again, like a couple other guys in this lineup, he's going to have to prove himself. So he's got the contract now. He got paid. He got what he wanted. Now it's time to put the product out on the ice. Sealer and Drysdale were a really good pair together. And then Risto, once he's healthy, I think he's going to be with Emil Andre. And until that time that he's healthy, it's going to be Igor Zamula. So that's what I have on defense so far.
All right.
Yeah, I'm pretty in tow with you as well. I think York and Sanheim are your clear number one pairing. I got Sealer with Drysdale as your second pairing, and then Zamula and Igor on the third until it's Risto, and then I feel Emil showed enough to trump Zamula.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna actually compare what you guys threw out there with Daily Faceoff. And this is what they have for the defensive pairs. They have Cam York and Sanheim. They have Nick Sealer and Jamie Drysdale. And Igor Zamula and Noah Jolson.
Who?
Oh, that's right. I forgot they signed him.
Yes, it's true.
I don't know if Jolson's going to wind up cracking the roster, if he's going to wind up being a depth piece, but I forgot they signed Noah Jolson.
So that's what they have on their chart for the defensive pairings. So, interesting.
Hey, if Zamula doesn't have a good training camp, that would open up a door for him. For Noah Jolson.
Yeah.
But I mean, you got to think, after that little window, that little small sample size from last year from Emil Andre, he's going to work himself into at least a conversation of, hey, does this kid actually, are we going to just hear in his shot? I'm going to say yes. I know. I know my word over the coaching staff right now means diddly shit, but it's the kid deserves an opportunity. I understand why you're bringing in a guy like Noel Jolson. So he's probably going to be your seventh D man. Realistically, maybe that is what happens opening night, and maybe they rotate. So maybe they rotate that third pairing. So once Risto comes back too, you're going to rotate Risto, Zamula, Andre, and Jolson. So that could be an option as well.
Okay. So yeah, that is defensive wise. Let me throw out just for the shits and giggles of it, since I got it up. Let me see what they've got for their special units right here. Goalies, obviously, they have Urson and Vladar as the goalies, and I don't think anyone's going to argue with that. For the first power play unit, this is what they have. They have Konechny, Zegras, Bobby Brink, Drysdale, and Michkov.
Yep.
So
Sick. That's exactly what I would do too. Sick.
they also, on the second power play unit, they have Dvorak, Couturier, Tyson Forster, Owen Tippett, and Travis Sanheim.
Interesting.
That is interesting. I mean, to me, I almost would rather put Cates there instead of Couturier. And then Dvorak on the wing, I think you could do better with that.
Mm-hmm.
So, who would you slot in there?
Maybe. I'll go ahead for it. Go for it.
I
Brother,
was just going to say while you were thinking. Yeah, while you were thinking, I was to say I would probably.
Owen Tippett. Oh no, but he'd been playing on the point. Never mind. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Brian.
So I was going to say slide Tippett to the wing, slide Cates to center, and then who would you put on point? Who was on the first line? First pairing?
The first power play unit they had was TK, Zegras, Brink, Drysdale, and Michkov.
When he comes back, maybe you put Forster on wing, keep Cates at center, maybe move Coots to the left wing, and keep Tipper at the point.
You could do
Somebody
that.
with the heavier shot, or maybe because Forster has the heavier shot, maybe put Forster on point and move Tipper down to
What
the
side?
wing.
What side does Forster shoot on?
I think he's a lefty.
Okay. Just wondering, because I'm trying to see what would be good for that, because sometimes when you get the heavy shot, it's always good to...
Righty.
Yeah.
Righty.
Yeah. Okay, then. So, yeah, because sometimes when you get that heavy shot, depending upon what side you're shooting on the goalie, it definitely gives you a bit of an advantage on him.
Yeah. You could also go 2 D-men and have Cam York be that aggressive, point player with Sanheim. And then you have Tippett on the wing, and then either your choice of Couturier or Cates.
Could do that. Priz was saying Risto and Dvorak are gone as soon as the trade deadline peaks its head over the horizon. He also, Benny's is saying, from the back end perspective, do they go back to the well with Calgary and make a move for Anderson?
I don't think right away. I think Calgary, if they're smart, because I believe he is their captain, he's going to be a deadline move. I believe this is a contract year for him as well. So I think that's going to be the point where they're going to let his value climb as much as they can, and then that's when they're going to pull the trigger. I'm going to pull his contract up real quick.
Yeah, you sell high on that.
So this is the final year of his deal. I think this is going to be the year they move him, and if they're smart, they just wait. They wait till the trade deadline and move him then.
And Priz agrees with Benny. He says, Benny, that'd be a nice pickup for y'all. He's a stud. No argument.
Agreed. Yeah.
So back to this. So that's our second power play unit. First penalty kill that they have is Noah Cates, Travis Konechny, Travis Sanheim, and Cam York. That's their first PK unit. As for their second PK unit, it's Coots, Hathaway, Nick Seeler, and Noah Jolson. They're really big on him. I mean, don't get me wrong. I understand why. But it's like, whew, boy, they're already putting him on the PK.
Daily face-off's trash, man. Left wing lock. That's where it's at.
It might get better now that Frank Saravelli's not doing any of that stuff anymore. He's going to be too busy coaching high school hockey.
So those are their special teams units
I don't hate 'em.
overall.
I don't hate
So-
them. I would tweak them a little bit, but I don't hate them, especially the PK. I think I like the PK more than I like the power play. The power play unit 1 is just filthy. So
Do you think that Jolson would work his way into? I mean, yeah, the lineup is one thing, but do you think he works his way into the special teams?
yeah, because I believe he is a big body defenseman, right?
Okay.
That's what you got to utilize him. If he's going to be on the roster as your 6th defenseman, you'd have to utilize him. And I think that would be a good spot to do so. I just don't think, I mean, let's not forget about the off, do you guys think Oliver Bonk stands no chance of cracking this defensive line?
That's a
Sorry.
Yeah. That's a good point, though. I mean, if Bonk has a really great training camp and he's comes out swinging, it's like kind of hard not to ignore. And I would argue to say that put a wrench in any plans that they would have had for like Jolson or for certain other players. That'd be like, okay, maybe slot him away and put Bonk in that spot instead.
Sure. I mean, I wouldn't be heartbroken if he gets a full year in the AHL and really develops his game, furthers on, and then becomes that complete defenseman too. So it's a good situation to have.
Yeah.
I don't see Jolson cracking the roster. I'm looking at some of his stats from last year, and just last year alone, he played 35 games as a -12. So
Well, that may very well dog him from making
that's
this
gonna hurt.
roster.
Yeah, that's gonna hurt.
Injuries happen, and a lot of these deals were depth contingency plans.
Mm-hmm.
True.
Yep. And that's where I think he's going to be more in a 7th defenseman role, where
Mhm.
he's not going to play every day. And just kind of like my 2 cents on Bonk is, I think he's an AHL player next year. I do. Him and Barkey. I think they're gonna spend some time down there. I think they're gonna get the full seasons down there, so that way they can get top minutes. They're not gonna be able to get it here. Obviously, we see that this log jam for the defensive for the blue line. So Bonk
Obviously,
would definitely be better off in the AHL, so he can get those solid minutes that he wouldn't get in the NHL right now.
but obviously, you would have to think if they were going to feel a little squirrely about it, if say an injury did occur, and say they have a couple injuries piling up on each other, that maybe they give the call to the AHL and say, "Hey, let's
Mhm.
bring Bonk up and get him his first taste in the NHL."
Depends. It depends on where they are in the standings. So if they're higher up in
Obviously,
the standings, I don't know if they're going to go after
They-
Bonk right away.
Right, they'd be gun shy on it. And I understand that. Yeah.
And then if they're lower in the standings, I absolutely give them a shot. Just see what you got. Take the small sample size and run with it. Worst
Right.
case scenario is you're already lower in the standings. You lose some games. He doesn't look that good. You send him back down to the AHL and let him continue to develop.
Right. So let's see here. Let's see what they got for the main line combinations. And then obviously you guys can be more than happy to rip these apart. I'm sure you're salivating at the opportunity. So on the 4th line, they have Nick Delorier, Rodrigo Abels, and Garnet Hathaway. On the 3rd line, they have Tyson Forster, Noah Cates, Bobby Brink. Obviously, this is under the impression that Forster is healthy. Then the 2nd line, they've got Zegras, Christian Dvorak, and Owen Tippett.
Interesting.
And then at the top line, they have Mitchie, Coots, and TK.
Okay. That 4th line I like. I think that's very realistic. I think there's going to be some rotations on the 4th line as well. But I don't hate it, Robbie.
I mean, Abel's proved he could be a very, very useful player, very energetic, brings that energy. That's what you want on that 4th line. So I can see him fitting in there. If things go well, you're going to see under 20 games. If they don't, then more than 20 games. I think more so that's where I have Dvorak playing. I have Dvorak centering the 4th line with Delorier and Hathaway.
Yeah, I've kind of scribbled, like I said, I've got four charts here. I've got Dvorak on 3 out of 4, and I've got Abels on 2 out of 4. So, I mean, I think we're gonna, like I said, I think we're gonna see some rotations on the 4th line.
Okay. All right then. So yeah, that is pretty much what they had projected for you guys. Was there anything that you guys would tweak in terms of, besides the fourth? Was there anything you would tweak on the top lines at all?
Yeah, I mean, according to the poll, I got Zegras there at center ice with TK and Mitchkov. Really, if he doesn't prove to be durable in that center ice position, then you can make the adjustment and put a Couturier or a Noah Cates there. But for now, I got Zegras with TK and Mitchkov. Forrester healthy. I got him, Cates, and Brink sticking together. And I got Coots either in that second or third line center ice role with Alex Bump and Owen Tippett.
Okay. All right.
So, I mean, a lot of these lines can be very interchangeable depending on what line is hot in that given game. I think this creates a good dynamic. And, yeah.
I think they will be pretty fluid this year. I'd be shocked if they weren't.
Yeah, same. Like mine, like I said, I did 4 just because like I can't. There's so many different combinations that we can do here. I have Zegers at top line in 2 out of 4. Coots I have on the top line in the other 2. I've had Tippett on the first line on a couple of them. TK on the first line on all 4 of them. Mitch Cobb on the first line in 2 out of 4. So the only thing that I really see that's not really going to change is 5 out of the top 6. So Tippett, TK, Zegras, honestly, maybe even Coots are going to be the guys that I think are going to be more kind of set in stone and being in that top 6 right now. Do I think that Coots winds up in the third line? Potentially. Could he be swapped out for Cates? Sure, absolutely. I think Cates is shown to be a good workhorse player, blue line player. So I think he could potentially take that third line center spot for Coots and let him kind of float around on the second line for a little bit too, until Coots gets those numbers rolling again after coming off his best statistically offensive productive year. So there's a lot of different ways we can go with these. I think that's kind of what I like about where this team is right now, because you can literally, there's so many different combinations. Nothing's set in stone.
Yeah, everything is wide open.
The only thing set in stone for me is Mitch Cobb is a top 6 player and TK is a top 6 player. Anything else is really up in the air.
Right. So let's see here. We've got Tommy Gamba saying Vegas over the cap. Jack Eichel, 2026 free agent. I don't think the Flyers would make a play for Jack Eichel, to be brutally honest. I don't think they would. I'm not saying that they couldn't, but I would say they probably wouldn't.
It works well with their timeline in terms of when they're looking to spend money.
Mm-hmm. Right. I'm not saying that they wouldn't consider it, but I don't know. I feel like they might not, only because, well, for one, you are going to have to pay him. But secondly, on top of that as well, I don't know if Eichel would even want to come to Philly, because I think he'd probably want to stay in a competitive team. Even though he's won a cup, I don't think he necessarily wants to go to a rebuilding team.
I mean, honestly, Eichel's probably not going to go anywhere anyway. Once Vegas puts Pietrangelo on the LTIR, they're going to be right back under the cap.
Oh, well, then there you go. So that changes everything. So there you have it. But in case you're wondering, by the new rule, they can't bring Pietrangelo back when the playoffs roll around. So
no, he's medically retired.
Okay, but still, you get what I'm saying.
No, he's medically retired. He's probably not playing. His career's over.
I got you.
He's having issues with his hip, and I think he wound up having surgery over the summer. So he's done.
The hips is always rough. I mean, that almost ended the late Ray Emery's career before he made his comeback.
It's ruined Ryan Kessler's career early. It's ruined. I believe that's Ryan Ellis's major issue is his hip.
His hip.
It's either his hip or his lower back. But yeah, he's done. You hate seeing it, because you want these guys to go out on their terms, but it is what it is. But once they put Pietrangelo's massive contract on the LTIR, they're going to be back under the cap. Barely, but they'll be under the cap.
So before we jump into our final topic of the day for NHL expansion, Priz is asking, barring injury, how many points do you all think Zegras has? Career best over 65, more or less? Career best. I don't know. I don't know about career best. I still think he can have a really good season. I'd say he get into the 50s. I don't know if he beats the 65. I don't think he does, but I think he gets to the 50s.
I'm going more, 73 points. Let's go.
All right.
Let's
I
go.
like that. Bring that
Fanboy hat. Where's my fanboy hat at?
positive manifestation right there. That's what I like to see. Some people might
Yes.
call it delusional. I call it positivity. So,
I mean, I'll still call it delusional. I'll call it positive delusionality. I'll just
there
make up
you
a
go.
word. I'll just make up a word.
That's what we got. We're doctors here. We have diagnosed you with positively delusionality.
If it works out where he's setting up TK and Mitchkoff, those assists could pile up.
True.
And that's where I was going to go. And you hit the nail right on the head there. It's going to depend on who he plays with. I think it's going to wind up being TK and Mitchie. I think he's going to put up a ton of points on the power play. I think he's going to be at least 20, 25 points on the power play this year.
Nice. So you're basically saying he'd be the best power play producer for the team.
For the team, yeah. Especially if he's on the same line with these guys that are, Mitchie's coming off of 28 goal year. TK had another 30 plus, I believe. If not, he was close to it. He's that's 60 points right there. Essentially, that's 60 points right there. Essentially, so that's it. Only means good things for Trevor Zegras moving forward as far as his offensive production.
All right. Okay, then. So now let's move into this one. Obviously, NHL expansion. We talked about it last week, where the league is looking into cities again to expand further. Seems like that's getting more traction again. So, I mean, I would have to say, if they're going to expand and they're going to keep the structure of the league, they're going to have to expand to 4 cities if they want to keep everything even. Now, do we see any scenarios where they say, to hell with that, and they restructure the whole league again and expand into only maybe 2 cities? Or do you think they go the full 4 and just keep everything the way it is?
I think they'll move some teams around, and maybe it'll be a little imbalanced for the time period where you have maybe 9 teams in 2 divisions. Because for me, I think 2 strong contenders for a return to the NHL is the Quebec Nordiques, revitalizing that franchise. But for me, what makes a lot of sense would be, and the NHL is actively considering expansion to Houston. Dan Friedkin is emerging as a potential owner. They've been a long-standing target for expansion. There's some thoughts about Atlanta too. I would most like to see Houston. It'd be a nice, Texas is a huge state. You can have a nice rivalry with an established team in the Dallas Stars, but you can have them cross conference too, much like you see in Major League Baseball. And for me, geographically speaking, you put a team in Houston, which I would call them the Houston Arrows. Personally, that would be an awesome name. You put them in the Atlantic, and you move Detroit back where they belong in the Central. Potentially, you could even bump Utah to the Pacific because they could go either way there. I mean, you do like how Utah has close proximity to Colorado, right? So I think Utah could stay, and then eventually Arizona's talking. Thank you. Appreciate that, Chris. I think Utah could have that nice rivalry with Colorado there in the Central. So either way, it could work out geographically. But you talk about an Arizona team that might return later on down the road. So 2 for now, and then Arizona comes in with another 2 later on, kind of like what we saw in the late 90s right, to and then into the early 2000s with the Florida teams, and then San Jose and what was the other expansion team in the late 90s? It was San Jose and
there was the Wild, and then I think the Predators came into the league around that time too.
Wild and Predators were, I think, on the plus side of 2000, weren't they? And then it was Was it just the Sharks and the Nordiques moving to Colorado that I'm thinking of?
Ottawa came into the league as well in the 90s.
Oh, Ottawa. That's what it was. San Jose and Ottawa. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. That's what I'm thinking of. So you'll see that too, and that'll eventually balance it all out for, playoff seeding. But it gives you an opportunity to, kind of like what we saw Rob Manfred talk about with the MLB in terms of reducing travel a bit, right? Making less wear and tear on the players. I think that's always behind it, as well as where can you make the most money. And like I said, Houston's a huge market. You see them with, the Texans, the Rockets. It opens up for that. Would you guys like to see sort of a more lowbrow city, like maybe Hamilton in Canada or another city in the U.S. that's more, trying to spark a more of a hockey fan base where there is no other professional teams?
I mean, I'm definitely all for that. For me, I'm expanding 2. I think that's the only way it makes sense. You have to do 2, keep things even.
Right.
You don't necessarily need to go 4, just as long as you have even number of teams on each side. I'm all for Quebec, and believe it or not, I'm actually all for Hamilton.
Yeah.
That I believe, what junior team is it? I forget which league they're in, but they have such a massive following. When there was an AHL team in Hamilton, the Bulldogs, I don't know if you guys remember that team, but they had a really solid following as well. So if you put an NHL team in a place like Hamilton, you're gonna have people come out. First of all, it's Canada and hockey's a Canadian sport. You're showing more faith that the NHL wants to not just necessarily expand in the U.S. into some of these non-traditional markets, which I think is not necessarily a bad thing. I think we're really spreading the game out that way. But I think if they are going to expand this time, go into some more hockey markets, maybe some lower, like to your point, Rob, go a little lower brow. Go to a place like a Hamilton. But to me, I want to put 2 teams north of the border. Just because you haven't seen a Canadian team win a Stanley Cup in a long time. I would love to see another team in British Columbia if we can make it work out. Another team in Quebec, Providence, if you can make it work. But Quebec and Hamilton, I think, are the two places that I would primarily look if we're gonna expand. I would throw Houston in there to fill out my top 3 as well. I think Houston will be a really good market.
I think when it comes to expansion wise, all right, so my 2 scenarios. If they go with the full 4, the way I see it, you keep all the divisions the way they are, and you just expand by 1 team for each division. So if we're looking at the Northeast and Southeast division, basically called the Atlantic Division, I would say that would be, if you bring Quebec back into the league, that's where they go. So they would slot in there. And then as for the Metropolitan Division, which would be a real challenge because of the fact that that's the league where we're in and that's where everyone's in close proximity of each other, I would argue and say, if you're going to do that, you have to put Atlanta in that division because you already have Raleigh in there. You have the Hurricanes in there. So throw Atlanta in there too. At the end of the day, your cutoff point is Florida. That's the 2 teams that are going to stay with the other teams in the Atlantic. So that doesn't change the structure in the East at all. Not that I'm a big fan of going to Atlanta for a 3rd time, but who knows? Maybe 3rd time's a charm. They win a cup right out of the gate and piss off all the Vegas fans. And then if you're going out west, I would say Houston takes the spot in the Central Division to sit in the same division with Dallas. So you have an immediate rivalry with the
Okay.
two of them. And then as for a Pacific spot, this is where it gets even more trickier because then you have to figure out, okay, where do you put a team here? You know what I would consider doing? Portland.
I was literally just thinking that.
I would consider Portland. The Trailblazers have been around for a very long time. You might as
Good
well
call, Maddie.
expand it and put a hockey team in there now. And then that way you have very close proximity rivalries where Vancouver and Seattle, they're basically next door to each other, separated by the border. And you can throw Portland in there. They're close. And San Jose is right up north in Northern California in the Bay Area. So you got 4 teams in the Pacific Division within close proximity of each other, like LA and Anaheim, who are right near each other.
45 minutes away.
So there you go. Perfect situation for playoff rivalries and for divisional rivalries. So that's how my 4-team expansion would go. If you're going to do it with the 2, then simply, I would say if you're going to expand to the 2, I would say fuck Atlanta. It failed twice. They had their shot. Move on. Just throw Quebec in there. And then out west, just move to Houston. You don't have to necessarily go to Portland. So that would be the 2 cities I'd cut out would be Atlanta and Portland if you're only going to go 2 teams. But I would say the 4 because it keeps everything even and you don't have to realign the league. That would be my opinion on it because I feel like they wouldn't want to. I don't think they would want uneven divisions. I think that would make them a little annoyed if there was uneven divisions. My opinion, though.
Logically, it makes a lot of sense, Maddie. I mean, that's so well thought out. You just get to a question where are you watering down the product too much?
Oh, you absolutely are. You are
Yeah.
110%. But if you're going to do it,
Right.
if you absolutely have to have this expansion, then you know what? All right, I'll put the work in and I'll give you your cities. I mean, I'm not a fan of it, but go ahead.
I mean, I don't think we see an expansion like we saw in the late 90s into 2000s with Nashville, Atlanta, Minnesota, and Columbus. I don't think we see it like that again. But, I mean,
Oh, yeah.
the only thing that I disagree with you, Maddie, is going back to Atlanta. I'm with you saying don't go to Atlanta. They've had it twice. They failed miserably both times.
But that's the thing, though. Gary Bettman, he is not afraid to try again. And I just have a sneaky suspicion if he's going to expand a team in the East, he will try Atlanta again.
Why
There's a
not?
lot of talk with Atlanta.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the good thing is they're not going to be within the city limits, so that actually might be a little bit better. But I still, if I'm going to consider a team on the East Coast, I'm going to consider a city on the East Coast. I look at the businesses, I look at the ownerships, I look at the billionaires that are interested in Hartford, Connecticut, and reconsider maybe going back to Hartford.
The whale, yes.
All right. I mean, that would be cool to
Or
see.
even Rhode Island. Maybe even consider a team in Providence. See how that
Yeah.
works out. Like so.
Start a new thing, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Kind of like
I
New
don't-
England, maybe
Mhm.
like in the
Yes.
in the spirit of Patriots, yeah.
Mhm.
Absolutely. I'm so for it, but I don't know if they would go to Providence only because I think that they might run into some issues with the minor league team that's there.
Oh,
Because
right.
The Providence Bruins have been around for a very long time. I
Right.
don't think the Bruins would be a big fan of that, honestly.
Right. I forgot they were there.
Man, all these teams, it's going to be like you get a team, you get a
Right.
team, everybody gets a team. Alaska,
that-
you're the team.
Yeah.
Alaska Mysteries, let's go.
But that's
I saw Benny say Kansas City. I think Kansas City would be an interesting one.
now that actually, okay, Benny, I like where your head's at, and that could be the exchange for Atlanta. Instead of
Right.
Atlanta, you do Kansas City instead.
That's
Now,
what I was thinking in terms of smaller market areas to try to grow hockey. I thought Kansas City or Oklahoma City, because you got
Yeah.
the Thunder out there too. But
that's true.
Kansas
I mean-
City, I think, would be a better suggestion though from Benny for sure.
The only thing that would make me pause in Oklahoma City would mean that, okay, so that means Houston's off the table. because you're already because that would be like, okay, if you're going to put it Oklahoma City, then that would have to be Central Division.
Yes.
At least in my opinion, it would have to be.
Yeah.
My
Houston's a clear favorite there.
I believe
Yeah.
so.
So like my concerns with like a Kansas City or like an Oklahoma City is I think Oklahoma City would be a really good spot because there's only the Thunder out there, but they also did have an AHL team out in Oklahoma. I believe it was the Edmonton Oilers AHL team. I don't know if they're still out there. I think they moved. They didn't really do very well as far as like fans and ratings and all that stuff. So I probably would not recommend. Well, I'm not recommend, but I probably wouldn't go to Oklahoma City. Kansas City, the fan bases can be finicky. I know right now they're all about their Kansas City Chiefs while Patrick Mahomes is doing whatever it is he's doing to get the calls and things that he wants. But where's the fan base going to go when the team is bad? Where is it going to be just a bunch of bandwagon fans, or is it going to be? And I'm sure Bettman's not going to care as long as that team is making money. But my question is, how much money is that team going to actually make out there? That's my only question.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, I mean,
Milwaukee.
I mean, Milwaukee is an interesting idea there, Benny, and you're right. Close proximity, you could have really good rivalries of Chicago, Detroit, Minnesota, even though Detroit's in the East. The only thing too, as well, I know Robbie mentioned it earlier. Milwaukee Hosers.
Hosers, yeah, like
Hosers.
Shades Brew.
Don't be such a hoser, bud.
I would say though the only thing that would make me have pause, because I know Robbie, you had said earlier, move Detroit back to the West, and I'm absolutely for that. Here's the one thing though: Detroit requested to go to the East, so I don't know if they would want to go back to the West.
Yeah,
like the team requested to go East.
No, you really gave such a better likelihood of Quebec, Phil. You know what I mean? Like being part of the Atlantic, Detroit staying where they are, and then Houston goes to the Central, because hockey's more about those divisional rivalries, right? And I'm not saying that like NFL or MLB isn't, but they're more geographically.
Right. And that's the thing, though, because with the way that the league is structured right now, considering also the playoffs, I mean, that's another thing, too, where, do you expand the playoffs now that you've expanded, to even more teams? And we had that talk last week. But, I would say, like, the thing about the divisions, that the way that they're set up and the way the playoffs is set up, you get more rivalry matches. And you don't want to lose those rivalry matches. I know Detroit moving to the East changed that whole dynamic for them, but we've had Florida and Tampa face off with each other 3 times. I mean, it hasn't been much of a series to watch. Florida got boat raced once, Tampa twice, but still, the point is you've had that happen finally. And then how many times have the Oilers and the Kings faced each other? They faced each other at least, 5 times in a row in the first round? So, I mean, it's like division rivalries, they sell it. And then obviously the Penguins and the Caps faced each other at least 4 or 5 times in this new structure. So, not to knock the old system, 1 through 8 was still a lot of fun. You still had rivalries. They may not have been divisional rivalries. I mean, hell, the Flyers and the Sabres were rivals during that time period, and they've never been in the same division. So, it can be magical when it's outside of the division. But I still think it breeds that hatred that fuels the NHL, is just having more of those close proximities and most of those divisional rivalries between each other.
Yeah, and I think that's why a lot of these other like cities, like Milwaukee is a good suggestion because you're within that close proximity. Hartford's a good suggestion because you have that within those proximities. Houston's a good suggestion. Right. Quebec's a good suggestion because they're all within
Portland.
Yep, they're all within close proximity with some of these other teams to not necessarily just kind of keep traveling a little bit easier, but it almost creates almost instant rivalry. So that's part of the reason why they brought Seattle in, not just because they thought that fan base was going to be really good, which it has been, but you're closer to Vancouver, and that's
Right.
a close proximity potential, really good rivalry. Should both of these teams find their way to be good again?
Right. And that's the thing too. I think that this structure breeds that. So I mean, if Vancouver and Seattle both get good at the same time, there's a huge rivalry right there waiting to happen. Big rivalry. And then it's the same thing with if you were to have a team in Portland, they get to be immediate rivals to either San Jose or to Seattle right off the bat. So anyway, yeah. So expansion wise, it'll be interesting to see where they go from here. It'll be crazy to see the Nordiques come back. My final question then is, gentlemen, so say it does happen. Say they finally bring the Nordique back. Do they bring him back with the old logo, with the blue and orange? Or do they go with that never released version of the Nordiques where they go with the husky and with the dark blue and the silver and the white that they were going to rebrand to before they moved to Colorado?
Oh, I like that. That would be smart. That to forge a new path, and you could still, somehow work in the fleur de lis. Like it maybe on if it's a patch on the shoulder, or maybe it's your alternate jersey. You wear the original Nordique, jersey. But that would be good for starting a new chapter. I like that.
Okay. How about you, Bri? What do you think? Classic, retro, or a new brand that was going to happen but didn't?
I'm going to go out on a limb here, boys. I'm going to say neither. I think they completely rebrand. I don't think if they go to Quebec, I think they just start fresh, start over.
Okay.
New name, new logos, just new franchise.
I mean, that's what they did in Minnesota. Mm-hmm. So, interesting.
Come up with a cool little badass name, new logo. And they scrap the Nordiques. They keep the Nordiques in history and create their own. Unless they do what Winnipeg did. I mean, essentially, it's a new franchise, but it's still the Jets. But it's not the Jets.
Well, no. I mean? Yeah, I got you on that one.
You know what I mean?
But, I mean, hey, but to piggyback off of it, like the Wolfpack idea, think about it, though. You could still do it, even if you didn't call them the Nordiques. You could call them either the Wolves. You could call them the Huskies. You could do several things with it. And you could actually go with that brand. It doesn't have to be the Nordiques. So you can still get it at the end of the day. Yeah. I think we figured out something here. I can see it now. Even the goal horn song could be the NWO Wolfpack theme from back in the day. I think that'd be awesome, actually. Throw that out there. There we go.
The Mammoth logo. Don't even start me on that. Don't get me started on that, Prez. They took that from NHL 20, whatever it was.
Oh yeah, the Mammoth.
But honestly, I take that back. It's actually really not that bad. It's just very simple.
I'm a little disappointed in the name. I think they could have done a little bit better with it. I'm not against the logo though. The logo I think is cool, but the name is kind of weak. Not gonna lie.
Yeah. Hey, if you're tying it into the original name of Van Halen, or Mammoth WVH, you know what I mean? Maybe you can, involve the two brands there.
There you go. Joe saying the Quebec Whispering Eyes. And then John saying the Charlestown Chiefs. There you go.
The Quebec Ricci's, where the logo is just Mike Ricci's face with missing teeth.
Oh, it's scary. It's scary.
But he's wearing his Flyers jersey. Anyway. All right. We thank everybody for joining us for this edition of Flyers Talk A2D. Had a lot of fun tonight. Had some good conversations with the Flyers line combinations. Obviously, we are getting ever so closer, itching our way closer to the preseason. So, you know what that means, boys. That means the 82 season is getting even closer. So it's just like, oh man, so very close to a new NHL season. It's so exciting.
About 2 weeks away from the start of training camp.
Right.
Oof.
So
2.5
very
weeks,
exciting.
something like that.
You could smell the ice in the air, but John Malmus chiming in at the last possible moment with a creative suggestion: the Charlestown Chiefs. Let's go.
Right.
Little slap
In
shot
South
reference.
Carolina? Oh, I'm thinking of Charleston. Never mind. Ignore me.
Yeah. Not
Ignore
no.
me.
I mean, maybe they'll just change the name from Charleston to Charlestown. No big deal. It's only been the name for thousands of years. Not
That's fine.
thousands, hundreds. But anyway, point is that preseason's almost here. Training camp is about to start. It is a very exciting time. The Flyers have got plenty of youth in the pipeline. Opportunities abound in the orange and black land. Obviously, the line combination's not set in stone. Opportunities for the youth to thrive and for veterans to take a new step forward in their new role. And hopefully we will get the dividends paid off during the season. And who knows? Who knows? The Flyers might be a wild card. Or maybe there'll be a team that might just cause some frustrations to a possible wild card. Either way, we might be in for something fun this season. Until next time, we will see you right here on a2dradio.com. Like, subscribe, share, hit the bell icon. We've got all the great shows for you, not just hockey. We've got wrestling, we've got football, baseball, basketball. We've got everything for you here. So go check out the other great shows. We obviously have A2D Wednesday night that is coming up tomorrow. So don't miss it. Don't you dare. The point is, guys, thank you very much. We love you. Stay safe. Stay healthy. Peace and love, everyone.